Hey YouTube, how's it going? Sitting here at the house, I thought I would address a few things. I'll wait for some people to get in here. We'll see what happens. Couple people in here, how's it going? Alright, anyways, I thought I'd address this rumor stuff. So, as of right now, I'm still at Schneider. There are people that have called me and texted me to see if I'm at Traveloco. And I know it was kind of a running joke in one of Jeffrey Likes live feeds. It also was a going joke in Periscope. But I am not going to Traveloco at this point. Nothing against Traveloco. It was just a rumor. I'm still happy here. Despite what truckers coach might say, I'm not a Kool-Aid drinker. I'm not an idiot. I know you get a higher percentage working at Traveloco. But for now, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I have other things in the works, just in case things go south here. I'm definitely curious about the new contract come December. But for the most part, I have no plans to move anywhere. I'm still doing good. Last couple of weeks have been kind of light because I've been taking a lot of home time because my wife was on vacation and because my sister was in town from Arizona. Since I don't go to Arizona very often, I thought I'd hang out with her a couple of days. Now, if you guys notice, I'm wearing a Transland hat. That is the company I used to drive for. They're out of Strafford, Missouri. Officially Springfield. That's what the trailers say. And I had an interesting meeting with one of the higher ups there. They still like me. I was one of their trainers. I did pretty good there. I started like a driver's committee where the drivers could talk to the higher ups. Started some new, on the training program, because they hire students out of CDL school. I helped start a situation where they usually take a guy for a week in the day cab city local stuff. So that helps a lot with the city driving, because anybody who's a trainer knows that putting them behind the wheel on the interstate helps, but it's the city stuff that's all the stuff you see at Twisted Truckers, truck stop, WTF moments. That's the kind of stuff you see, trucks trying to do U-turns or taking out power lines or going through ditches, that kind of thing. So running with the city guy is really beneficial. But anyways, they wanted some owner-operator input on a new owner-operator program that they're working on. Do I see myself going back there as an owner-operator? Highly doubtful, because it won't be self-dispatch. That's all I know. But I thought I'd wear the hat because they gave me a free hat. So if you're coming out of CDL school and you live within the Midwest near Missouri, check them out. But no, I have no issues with going to Traveloco, or with Traveloco. I didn't want to put it in the title because I didn't want people to think I was just trying to join the bandwagon. And, I know that Ike and Will are doing well over there. Indiana Jack's doing pretty good. But I'm not going to do a comparison number. It's obvious that you can make more money there than you can where I'm at because the percentage is higher. Your choice of loads is higher. So, but I'm not going to pretend to be an expert and, sit there and do comparisons because I haven't worked for Traveloka. I'm not seeing any chats here. Is anybody chatting? There we go. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just now looking at got Clyde, Christopher. Hey, how's it going? Mike, John, CGM. CGM. You make a valid point there, sir. Well, Christopher, shoot the questions out there. Hey, it's my favorite troll, UC95. How's it going? John C. How's it going? Ray Trammell. Sorry, I'm just now looking at the chat, guys. Are the kinks worked out on the 2014-2015 Max Force engines? If they have a certain update, I don't know much about them, but I know if they have a certain update, I think they're supposed to be good. And I know that they're coming with huge warranties on them. Steve, has E-Logs ever screwed you out of pay? Not since I've been on percentage. When I was a mileage company guy, there were probably times that you have to run kind of light the next week, or you have to do a 34 in the middle of a pay period. And so, yeah, it could definitely decrease. But when I did my paper logs, I only fudged a couple hours here and there as far as I would show myself at the shipper receiver. For the most part, I wasn't one of those guys that would try to show 800 miles in a day. Hey John, Cater. How long has Traveloka been in business? I think someone told me 4 years. So here's the thing, and if you got your own authority, and you just got it, the insurance companies are not going to let you grow huge in the beginning. And Traveloka has been around long enough that they are now starting to see the insurance cuts. Now, those of you who want to lease a truck through Traveloka, you're going to be waiting a minute because they can only get so many trucks, because that's an investment. So, but bringing your own truck over, it looks like a good business model. I know that a couple of Schneider guys that I know have gone over there. In the spot market, I think I've said this before, man, spot market is booming right now. Booming. But, Crete has a heck of a deal on their 2014 Pro Stars, $30,000. Yeah, I think Gear Grabber, if you see him in here, I think he bought a used Pro Star. I know that Shooter McGavin bought a used Pro Star. John Carter, Steve, do you miss your Pete? Not at all. Nope. Not at all. It was a good truck to start with, man. I drove one in training back in 2009. And so when it looked like I couldn't get the truck that I wanted, that was my second choice. And knowing what I know now, I may not have chosen that exact truck, but the 387 is definitely a good start, man. There's a lot of room in those trucks. You just got to kind of create your own shelves. Fuel mileage is kind of eh. I know when I was looking at the 587s, they were kind of the same way. I looked at MHC, they got some good prices. Yes, Clyde, they do. I think I mentioned that in Periscope. There's a batch of 2014, 2015 T680s that Prime has stopped leasing. Those are the trucks to snag. That's what I got. They're broken in. They're priced right. 680 has all the creature comforts. I love it. I love my truck. And it's a longer wheelbase, so it's got a good it's got a smooth ride. Although I do need, I think, some front shocks here pretty soon. John Cater says you need to do more live chat, Steve. I'm trying to find the balance between not doing enough that keeps your interest, but not doing too many, because I know that there's kind of this, for a while it seemed like all these drivers were doing all these live feeds, and my notifications tab would go off at all hours on my phone, and I know that people are getting kind of sick of them. So I'm trying to find the right balance. I don't want to be like Trucker's Coach and do a live feed every 4 hours. But I think once a week, like this on Saturday night, I think I might do this. Unless the subject comes up that's a hot topic right now, and there really isn't, that hasn't been covered. We could talk about e-logs, but when it comes to e-logs, you're beating a dead horse, because it's the same arguments, the same blindness, the same ignorance. People blame e-logs for everything, and it's not the e-logs, it's hours of service. That kind of thing. But I won't even get into that, because, Ike and Will are kind of working on that, and that's their thing. But I appreciate it, John. I will do at least one a week. How's that? John Capone says, I miss my old Freightliner Classic. I've never driven one of those. I drove an LTD, is that what it's called, in school. And then I drove a Cascadia day cab for a delivery I had to do. Seen a lot of Cummins with 13-speed dealer about an hour from house. Clyde, I think if they're white, they're probably CFI trucks, because, of course, I bought my truck from Joplin, and I pass through Joplin all the time, Joplin, Missouri, and that's where CFI is based out of. And they just traded in a bunch of trucks. They just got a new batch of trucks. So if they're white trucks, they're probably CFI trucks. And and I know that the Kenworth in Joplin had like 50 of them. And they're all different brands too. Any T660s at Prime? No, I don't think I've ever seen a 660 at Prime. However, Kenworth all across the nation is trying to get rid of the 660s, because they stopped production on those either this year or next year. And I drove a 660 for close to 3 years, and yeah, the sleeper's nice and roomy. Again, the shelving sucks. If you get a studio sleeper, that's the way to go. But the cab is narrow. You can open the door, from your seat. Sounds good. Been following since Landstar days. Much respect, sir. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. I kind of regret deleting all my Landstar videos, but that's the effect trolls had on me back then. I got a lot of people asking me questions about Landstar, and I felt that I wasn't really a good, I couldn't give a really good expert opinion if I wasn't there anymore, and if I didn't do well there myself. I did okay. I'd probably do better there now, but back then I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Mm-hmm. I'm an 88 Mike in the U.S. Army, retiring in less than 4 years, and I'm trying to learn everything I can on YouTube. Keep posting videos, it helps. And that's Christopher Volbrecht. I hope I get your name right. He says F trolls. Christopher, you got to be careful who you watch. There's a lot of whiners out here. There's a lot of people that have bad attitudes out here. There's a lot of people that give you bad information out here. And I'm not going to really... If you want to email me, I'll tell you who to avoid. But, there's some people out there giving owner-operator advice that have no clue what they're talking about. And the other thing is that, here's what you got to be careful. And you guys will probably know who I'm talking about. There's a couple of people. There was a driver that did a video a year or so ago that compared Landstar, Schneider, and KLM. And he was a KLM driver. And he's telling everybody about how you compare each company. Well, here's the problem. He was never a Landstar driver, and he was never a Schneider driver. So how can you tell me how things are at Landstar or Schneider if you've never worked there? Now, Jeffrey Like did a video years ago, Landstar versus Schneider. He is an expert because he spent 10 years at each company. So he's got the authority to do that. And I think a certain driver just did a recent live video about Traveloco versus Landstar. And right away, he was listing things about Landstar, and I could tell that I know he's never worked there, number one. And number two, there were a couple of things that he said right off the bat that were false. One of them was, you're only limited to the Landstar load board. That's not true. If you find a load on your own, you just have to go through a Landstar agent. That agent has to vet that company. So they got to check their credit. They got to make sure that Landstar will work with them, and then you can book that load. But you can do the spot market stuff just as much. But it's a little bit more of a hassle. But to sit there and say that you can only do Landstar stuff, and then also the buddy system he talked about. Yes, the best Landstar loads don't hit the board. That's by design, people. But see, check this out. If you're working the spot market with brokers, okay, listen carefully. You could do the same thing. You could call a broker that you know has these certain loads out of your area or whatever, and he won't post the ones if he knows you're going to snag one. If you tell him, hey, save me a load for Monday, I'm leaving out Monday, that load doesn't hit the board. So you could do the same buddy system. It's called running a business. It's called creating relationships. It's not a buddy system. That's just how business is done. So that kind of annoyed me, and then his life, he got cut short. I have nothing against this driver, but Chris, you got to really watch out for who you're listening to, because there's a lot of so-called experts. I have never claimed to be an expert at anything except maybe sleep apnea, hence the title, Snore Lord. But when it comes to trucking, I am just an owner-operator who's just trying to find his way, and I'm still learning myself. Outlaw Trucker says, I used to drive a 660. It always hit my head on the dome light. Hey, Outlaw Trucker, did you open the door to back up? I know I did. Michael V says, I miss Landstar. Left in 2004. Figure I will end my career there, but things have changed. You are correct. I'm not going to sit here and bash Landstar because you can do well there. However, I do know that from all the drivers I've talked to that have been there a long time, it is not the same company. And it's all about the investors and about profit margin and being a third-party logistics company. Steve, John Carter says, Steve, have you had any major problems out of your new truck? No, knock on wood. I've had to replace 2 brake chambers. I had a sensor for one of the drive axles get ripped out. So I don't have the temperature gauge on a drive axle, one of the axles. Other than that, I've had a little bit of an antifreeze leak, but I've barely put in a gallon since February. And the oil's still clean. I did an oil change a few weeks ago. Oil's clean. So it's not burning up any oil. And right now, according to Truckin' Pro program that I've bought, I'm getting 8.6 miles to the gallon. So, Kevin and Ollie, how's it going, sir? Hope you and your dog are fine. I've been enjoying your videos. John Capone, do you run an automatic transmission? No, I don't. It's a 10-speed. Eaton Fuller. Any leaks or wind noise in your 680? Not at all. It is a very tight truck. My Peterbilt was noisy and a lot of air going through it. I remember when I first got the 680, the truck would take like a couple hours before it got cold in there without the APU on because it was so well tight. Whereas the Peterbilt, I had drafts in there like crazy. Good. Ending a lengthy time off. Head back out Monday, back to it. Yes, Kevin, I understand. I've been doing the same thing, except I leave out tomorrow. Christopher, your information is good. I watched that video too. The more information I get, the better I can make the decision myself. Opinion are like a-holes. Everyone has one. Yep, and that's how it is. You know, you want to find the successful people, and the most successful people usually aren't bragging. And if you find somebody doing comparison videos, make sure that they've worked for those companies. You know, you can't. It's like if I would sit there and do a comparison video between Schneider and Swift. I've never worked for Swift. I don't know anybody that works for Swift. You know, I did talk to one owner-operator over there, and he told me his numbers, and they weren't very impressive, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to do. Yes, me too, Michael V. Thank you. Celtic Bar. My son is in Springfield, Missouri getting his APU fixed. His broke. Celtic Barb, where is he at? Because if he's at APU Center, that's a problem. That's the place that almost burned down my truck because of their install. And I know a gal, her name is Debbie Desperado. She's on my Facebook friends list. And she bought an APU from there. Spent $5,000 on it. Got one trip out and already had problems with it. Do you look at all freight on the Schneider Lowboard or just for your region? I look at everything. So what I do is, let's say I'm looking for a load out of, say, Indianapolis. I do a 50-mile radius. You know, if I'm leaving Springfield, I'll do a load. You know, I'll look for loads. Anything. Now, I'm not going to take anything to Colorado. We do have loads that go from Arkansas to Arizona, but this time of year I'm not going to do that because of the heat, and it's hard to get out of Arizona. I know a friend of mine has his wife watch the load board for him for the loads coming out of there, and he's offered to help me out with that, but I haven't taken him up on that yet. Come wintertime, I might do more of those. I pretty much try to stay in the same area, but if the load pays good enough, I'll take it anywhere. There was a load to the Bronx that I almost considered because it was paying really good. However, it was a delivery time of 6 a.m. and you can't spend the night there at that particular customer. So I'm like, I'm not even dealing with that. But it varies. I try to stay in the same area, but I pretty much stay open-minded. If you go back to some of my videos, I did a video about flexibility. A lot of guys here at Schneider will run the same stuff, the same patterns, the same things, and then when those loads don't appear, then they're having to run areas they're not familiar with. So if you're just starting the Schneider IC board, you know what's in your area, but don't be afraid to stretch your legs every now and then, because that way you'll know who the problematic shippers and receivers are, ones that waste your time, the ones that cancel loads, the ones that take 8 hours to load or unload, and then you can avoid them easier. I don't do a whole lot of loads in the South because I don't know the South very well. I ran it a little bit with Transland, but it was the same shippers, receivers. I do know that I prefer the Midwest because that's where the money's at. The roads are better. Parking's better. I-70, I-55, I-57, I-35. That's kind of my area. So I hope that answers your question. Why Pacino 23? If I said that right, I hope. John Cater says, I watched videos from the little guy and his truck issues he was going through. What's your personal opinion on that? Sometimes a new truck will have electronic issues. I know that Volvos, I drove a Volvo for 2 or 3 years, and most of the issues that I had with that truck were electronic related. And I know that when I looked at the records of my 680, I know that there was a few problems that were going on, and they had to do like what they call a computer update. That's the thing with these trucks. These trucks have these computers, and they have to be updated. The other thing that I was thinking about with little guy's truck, and this is something that Ike and Will need to kind of pay attention, is that an APU would probably be a good thing, because like right now, they're idling those trucks out west because it is freaking hot. You don't buy APUs for fuel savings anymore. You buy it to save on the truck. When I went shopping for my 680, when I talked to the salesman, I told him I was nervous about getting a DEF truck, and told him that all my friends had problems with the Cascadia 1 boxes. And he said the first thing that came out of his mouth was, do you plan on buying an APU? I go, yes. He goes, you'll be okay. He says, to idle it 5 or 10 hours here and there is not a big deal, but what will happen is guys will idle it for 34 hours, and then they'll do a 100-mile run, and that's extremely bad on them. TJ Jones, does road tax hamper your revenue much? Not really. I can't tell you what my last IFTA bill was, though, so I know it's never been more than $60. I'm not one to get obsessive. Here's something I was thinking about today. I'm not one to get obsessive about fuel savings, and here's why. I know guys that put like 100 air tabs on their truck, and what do? They fly by me doing 75 miles an hour. I know guys that sit there and they nitpick every penny and open the fuel app and try to get the best fuel, and they figure out the IFTA, and they're doing all this math and stuff, and what do? Vroom, 75 miles per hour right by me. Your fuel is in your foot. And the general rule of thumb is if it's cheap at the pump, you're going to pay later on the IFTA. Plain and simple. I follow that formula. I try to go to the Pilot Flying J because they got the best discounts for us. And but if it's a pain in the butt place like Joplin, very rarely do I fuel at the Flying J. I never fuel at the Pilot. And most of the time I just put on 50 gallons at the Petro until I get into Oklahoma. Ronald Buress says, what's up, Steve? Can't wait for August 7th. Are you the one I talked to that's got orientation? August 7th, is that what's going on? TJ, I ran Oregon, so I'm a little concerned. I've only been to Oregon once, and that was like 6 years ago. So, do you have any understanding of blow-by? Haven't been able to find a chart on what the numbers mean. I'm not sure what you mean by blow-by. Southern Flatbed. 63 to 65, best mileage you can get. Yes, every truck has a sweet spot. Now check this out, guys. In my 387, 2009 387, I was getting above 7 most days, even with the heavy Schneider loads. Landstar, I was always getting that because I was always picking light loads. I kept my foot out of it, 62 miles an hour. All my Schneider friends made fun of me. Hell, one time when I was with Landstar, I had a driver get behind me and ask me if I was okay because I was doing 61 miles an hour in a 70 mile per hour state. And then I said, no, I'm doing all right, And then I had a Premier driver. Those guys are buttheads. I had a Premier driver. He got on the radio, and and was griping about my speed. I'm like, we're on the interstate, man. There's a left lane. Why do you care what I'm doing? I don't know. I just think it's strange. We're on the CB, right? And I said, well, if you want to pay for my fuel and make my truck payment, then you can tell me how fast I need to go. When you work off percentage, you don't have to do 700 miles a day. Nobody understands that. But in the 680, John, you're right, 63 to 65. Now, here's the other kicker, though. With a non-covered truck, you're going to get better fuel mileage because you can get a running start for them hills. If I know I got a big hill and I'm in a 70 mile per hour state, I'll get it up to 70, 72 maybe, and then that way I'm working less on the hill. So it's a combination of finding the sweet spot and not having a governed truck. These companies that govern the truck at 60 miles an hour, they're killing themselves. Yep. Ronald says, yep, your input has really helped. Well, good, man. When you get into the program, I think you're the one I talked to. I'm not going to overwhelm you with information until you've gone through orientation. Then we can have some real conversation. Scott Felthausen says, I've always gotten the best fuel mileage at 1,600 RPMs. Different trucks were different speeds and top gear at that RPM, so it varied between 64 and 72. Yep. Right now, the best fuel mileage for my truck is 1,300 RPMs. And that gets me about 64 miles an hour, 65. So it's all on how it's geared. So check it out, guys. I got a cat. There. So, cat's being... there's a moth in here, so he's like freaking out. So that's kind of what I found, On Southern Flatbed says, on dyno report, they will give you a blow-by number like 2.9 blow-by on the engine. I have Googled, can't find out what a good number is for an engine blow-by is. Southern, that's beyond my knowledge. I can't help you there, sir. John Cater, Steve, what's your personal opinion on the parking issues beyond December with ELOG mandate unless it's put off? Parking's going to get interesting. Hopefully the truck stops won't add more pay to use lanes. And I think that here's what's going to happen. Here's my prediction. If they wait till the last minute and give us hope that the mandate won't happen, what's going to happen is come December, if they pass it, or if the mandate still goes through, you're going to have a lot of drivers that won't know what to do. They won't know how to schedule their stuff. I don't like being dispatched because usually your dispatcher load planner doesn't give a rat's butt about your hours, even though they could see them on the computer. So you're either looking at really, sharp 10-hour breaks, or you're looking at, a day to deliver and then not pick up till the next day, which is, you could lose income that way. So, so we answered that question. Steering wheel holder, or all the parking going to paying. Yeah, if they do that, then the cost is going to be put on the brokers and the shippers, and then that'll be put on the consumers. Ronald, thank you very much. Yeah, I just opened my super chat up, and I'm not going to do a thing. Again, I saw this video where someone was going to make this big announcement, just like my parody. Remember my parody, guys? I'm not making this announcement until I get 100 people or $75 on the super chat. I shut it off right there. I'm not going to do that. But thank you, Ronald. Thank you very much. The thing that you have to figure out is, here's the thing. There was an accident on that was posted on Facebook, and hold on. And sorry, I was spraying the cat. Yeah, that's what I was going to get at. There was a KLM driver, trainee, on the shoulder. And a Swift truck just wipes him out. Just wiped the whole thing out. And it was foggy. didn't realize that they're on the shoulder, that kind of thing. And when they asked the KLM driver, he said that he was tired and he had just pulled over. You don't pull over on the shoulder, especially KLM. They have a huge sitting duck rule. And to me, you're going to see a little bit more of that. You don't want to pull over on the shoulder. But however, the ramps, it depends on what state you're in. I know that in the South, you're able to do it a lot more. But I know Missouri's cracking down on it. In Ohio, you definitely don't want to crack down. The problem with ramps is that if you're on paper and you shut down on a ramp at, say, 1 a.m., you could probably get up at 6 a.m. and move, and it won't count against you because you can just fudge that on your paper. However, if you shut down at 1 a.m. and you can't leave till 11 and you're on the shoulder, you're going to get a ticket in most states. So there's going to be a lot more. Outlaw Trucker says there's going to be a lot more solar-powered trucks in the road, aka drivers running during the day. That's true. Running at night, though, has its advantages. The thing that I never liked is when my dispatcher kind of forced me to switch. You wait for a load all day, and then suddenly you get a load at 8 o'clock at night saying, hey, you got a 10-hour break. Go drive. I don't do that to myself in self-dispatch. You are good about making fun of Jason and JC. I don't know who JC is. So if he's doing if he follows, my parody was not about one person in particular. It was about everything that I absorbed by watching everybody else's live feed. And as far as Jason, like I said, I got nothing against the guy, but, when you do a live feed every 4 hours and you want to talk to me like you're an expert of numbers when you've only done a couple loads for Traveloco, I have an issue with that. If you want to talk to me like you're an expert at Landstar, I have a problem with that, because if you've never worked for Landstar, whatever. But Jason, if you're watching this, I apologize. I have nothing against you personally, but when you sit, when someone sits there and says they're not going to make this announcement until you have 100 people, that's a little bit narcissistic. Why should I think about myself as someone so high up there that you guys care if I make an announcement? What about the first 100 people that came in your feed to watch you? Those are the dedicated people. Why make them suffer? They should be the first ones to hear the announcement, not the people that are showing up late. So, whatever. Another setup for failure was the trainer sleeping behind a student. Exactly. When I was a trainer, I never slept in the sleeper. We weren't allowed to. We always had to be in the jump seat. We ran as a super single. When his 11 hours was up, I could do the next 3 hours or 2 hours. If I had a student I was comfortable with, I was known to fall asleep in the passenger seat. But never was I ever in that bunk sleeping when I was training. Nor would I. So does Landstar, no sitting ducks? Yeah, Landstar definitely. Landstar, this is what they told me. You better be on the phone with safety as you're putting out your triangles if your truck is disabled and you're on the shoulder. That's how they do it. And Schneider's kind of the same way. That's why I think a hands-free ban, Schneider doesn't allow us to talk on the phone, even with hands-free devices. If more companies did that, I think that's a bad thing, because if they send you a message on the Qualcomm, or if you have to make a call, what do? You pull over on the shoulder. I don't do that, but, I know people that would. Tennessee is a $60 ticket for parking on a ramp. Yep, Tennessee is cracking down. Yes, sir. Michael V., 2.9 inches of water pushed up in a tube. Call engine customer service to see what is acceptable for that motor at that HP setting, and you have to know the RPM and measurement it was taken at. I guess we're talking about blow-by still. Scott, steering wheel holder says, Scott, yeah, trainer's sleeping while trainee drives. Yeah, and I think the Swift driver in this accident was also, it was a trainee, and the trainer was in the sleeper. There's an infamous video on YouTube on, I want to say, what's the famous hill in California? Where the truck lost control going down the windy mountain, and he wipes out, and it killed the trainer because he was in the bunk. Steve Watkins says, I like the way you think. Thank you, sir. James G. If a driver pulls over on a ramp when he's tired, he probably should have parked earlier. That's what happens under forced dispatch. You're right, James. In my career, I think I've parked on 5 or 6 ramps, and that was when I first started e-logs at Transland. In some countries, I know that in my blog, remember those guys, someone talked to me about, like in Poland, if you sleep on a ramp, you're going to get robbed. And that's the other thing is, you have to worry about theft. Theft on a ramp is huge, because what's to stop someone to, taking a gun to you, or taking something, or taking some fuel while you're sleeping, and then they got a ramp to get on the interstate. Boom, they're 100 miles away within a couple hours. I think he books Landstar loads over at Traveloco. Well, that's fine. Landstar does do third-party logistics. I know that Jeffrey's done a couple of Landstar loads. At the same time, when I was at Landstar, I did Schneider loads. I did JB Hunt loads. I did Swift loads. I did, I think I did a Crete load. And, hey. And, damn cats are getting everything. I got this water bottle for the cats. That's why you see me do that. Mm-hmm. But that's the beauty of Landstar. So, basically you're getting the remnants of all the other carriers, that the stuff that they can't cover or don't want. Ricky Shannon says, Schneider needs to negotiate a price break for us at Pilot for paid parking. What I do is I use points. Very rarely have I had to pay for parking. It just depends on where you go. If I'm going up northeast, I'm going to pay for parking if I know I'm not going to shut down until 5 or 6 or later. Outlaw Trucker, I totally agree with you. And Ricky, you bring up a point. If there's more paid parking, then the carriers are going to have to adjust. The carriers are going to have to be able to negotiate some stuff, Outlaw Trucker agrees with me, thank you. Big Billy, hey, what's up, man? Grapevine. No, it was, starts with a D. I want to say Doling, but that's not right. Trucker Coach is heavily recruiting for Traveloco versus everybody else. And that's fine. I get that. But here's the thing. I don't try to recruit for Schneider. I have had one referral bonus, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you how my program works here at Schneider, or how the program works at Schneider. And the only thing that I'll say that is better is I will say that, there's no dispatch. That's the better thing. So if someone says, hey, Steve, should I go to Prime or Schneider as an owner-operator, I would say Schneider, because you pick and choose your own loads. Nothing against Prime. But some guys don't like that. I've got a Landstar agent friend of mine. Her husband drives for Prime. Well, he's getting ready to go over to Green Miles. He's getting ready to go to Green Miles, transportation out of Willard, Missouri. And he's not liking it because he's got to have to call the brokers. It's self-dispatch, just like Traveloco. And some guys just can't self-dispatch themselves. So it's all, here's the thing, a company is a personal fit. If you guys remember Trucker Steve, he started a business where he was trying to find the right company for each driver. Like, okay, if you need home time, if you need this, then this company's good. If you need money and you don't care when you're home, or if you don't have home bills or whatever, then this company would be good for you. And that's kind of how it is, company or owner operator, And as far as recruiting for Traveloco, I get it, but at the same time, if you've only run a couple of loads, then you can't sit there and say that your company's better than the other when you've only run a couple of loads. Will's been at Traveloco since January, and Ike's just been there a couple of months now, and they're doing well. But it's continuity, it's longevity that a lot of people are looking for. I could, if I'm always looking for the one company that pays more, well, that's the other thing. When you take Landstar and Traveloco, just on numbers, okay? Yeah, you're going to make more money at Traveloco because you're making a higher percentage. That's just basic math. And that's why, now, see, Ike going after Schneider drivers, to me that seems reasonable because, Schneider drivers are going to get a bigger cut. He's making more money at Traveloco than he did here at Schneider. And so I get that, but he has the authority to do that because he's driven for Schneider. So, he ran the short haul here and he ran the long haul here. So, yeah, I can make more money at Traveloco if I went over there today because they would pay me 88% with my truck. And I only get 65 right now. Of course I'm going to make more money. That's simple math. But see, there's more to a company than just money. You have to consider that. And I want to see other results, but I'm also kind of waiting for, other things that somebody else has already hinted on. Cajun Pass, no. Donner Pass, that's it. Steering wheel holder's got it right. Donner. Want another cat snorler? No, these two are tearing up the house as I'm doing this live feed. Damn cats. Gotta run, Snorlord. Have a good night. Thanks, Ray. Thanks for showing up and tuning in. Charles McLeod Jr., what's up, Snorlord? What's up, man? Oh, yeah. Thank you for the info. You're welcome. Donner, yes, it was Donner Pass. Honestly, CGM says, honestly think Traveloco looks like a great place to sign on, but all the guys on YouTube are making them look bad. See, that's kind of the genius of the whole thing. A year ago, I've never heard of Traveloco, right? And because he hired these high-profile YouTubers that are in my newsfeed, now that's all we hear about. And they're, and since I is with them now, they're a buzz in the Schneider Facebook pages. And self-dispatch is the way of the future. That's the wave of the future. Okay, Schneider's not the only one doing it. It's a double-edged sword because you have high-profile YouTubers that are promoting this company, but at the same time, they have a lot of haters. They have a lot of people that don't like them. Go to any of their videos and look at their comments. The comments sometimes are brutal, and and that, so it's a double-edged sword. So you got to find the fine line. I've talked with Ike personally. He's used Apnea's music, and I appreciate him. He and I could talk metal all day long. Will, I've never talked to, but I'm friends with on Facebook. I've talked to him on Zello. Now, here's a little thing about Zello. When the drama was going down between Will and Ike and Trucker's Coach and Jeffrey Like, I tried to go in to Zello and defend Jeffrey. And then I defended Jeffrey in one of Will's videos, okay? Because if you watch Jeffrey Like's video that they were all angry about, Jeffrey was wishing him well. And he said that the numbers are good, you know? And he didn't say anything negative about Traveloka or anything like that. So the peace was made between all four of those people. And that's cool. But during that time, I was untrusted is what it said in Zello. And it was never solved. So I just left. So I haven't been back to Zello ever since, because I felt like there was a clique and I wasn't a part of it. And and here's the thing, I'm not going to beg for friendship. I'm not going to sit there and want people to like me, because I'm just not that kind of person. If you don't like me, fine. I get it. I'm not the most lovable person. However, there was no reason to not trust me. There was no reason, I went from being a moderator to being untrusted. So yeah, I thought, well, I guess I'm not in the clique. So I left Zello. I have nothing against everybody in Zello. I had some good conversations in Zello, but for the most part, I felt that, I was not wanted there, even though I never really stirred up any drama. So even though I didn't really say anything bad about anybody, I never do. The comments that I've made about Jason in this video, I don't even like to say that much. I'm just, and I hope Jason takes it as constructive criticism. If he may not even watch my video. I'm just a peon in the YouTube world. So, but, I have a couple of friends, CJM, that have gone over to Traveloka, and, and we'll see how they handle operations. That's where a company's value is how do they handle when the crap hits the fan? And how do they handle that? How do they handle, repairs and trailer repairs and pickup numbers? You're dealing with brokers, so that's one thing. But to me, that's the true test of a company. James G, that's one more than I gotten. I'm waiting for Like Trucking to sign on owner-operators. It's going to be a little bit, James. And maybe I'm doing the same thing, too. Just maybe. Butch says, just got here. Hey, Snowlord. Thank you. John Capone. See you, brother. I'm out. Yeah, this video is getting long, guys. The USA is now self-dispatch. Interesting. I know that KLM's working on a program, too. Michael V says USA is now self-dispatch. It's the wave of the future, guys. When Transland talked to me about some owner-operator stuff, I asked them if it was going to be self-dispatch, and they said no. Or they would look into it, but I told them that was kind of the wave of the future, But the problem is that they need certain drivers in certain areas, so self-dispatch probably would not work, or at least you'd be limited to their board. It's really not 88% when you got to pay liability insurance, cargo insurance. Now, does Big Orange pay for IFTA plates? I think it's $1,500 a month, or not a month, a year for plates and permits. That's what I pay. And yes, I've talked to Jeffrey Like about those numbers. You're making 88% per se. It's kind of like, okay, let's say you're independent. Are you getting 100%? No, because you gotta pay for all these insurances and taxes and everything like that. Excuse me. And the trick is after all the insurances and trailer fees that I would have if I, say, went over to Traveloka or Like Trucking, is my pay still going to be an increase? And Jeffrey and I ran the numbers, and yes, it would be. Because I would be averaging so much per mile, basically you're going to make 15% more. Maybe not the 20% more, but the 15% more. Again, I'm not a numbers expert, but the numbers that Jeffrey and I went over, there would still be an increase of pay, even with my own trailer and having to pay more insurance. John Cater, Steve, I got a question. How do you personally deal with managing home time and working, aka staying out? John, I try to be home every other weekend, but not like religiously. Right now, I'll make hay. I stayed out in June so I could be home for most of July. I'm usually not out more than 3 weeks at a time, though. I've never been out a month. Well, I take it back. There's one time I was out a month at a time, and that's because I was playing catch-up with Landstar when I first became an owner-operator. And I think I stayed out a month here to play catch-up when I transitioned here, but I still saw the house a couple of times in that month period. Home time is really important for me. Because of the family and because of the band. When I was at Transland, if we had a gig on Friday night, I had told them I needed to be in on Thursday morning. There was one gig where I literally left the big truck, got home, loaded the gear, and went to the show. We played like crap that night because I was tired. I did 600 miles, and we had to load and unload gear. Jake Thompson says, I don't watch the Drama Queens anymore. CJM, I was at Landstar and now at Interstate Heartland. I'm not going back to being dispatched, LOL. Hate having to wait for 2 years for Jeffrey's deal. You're right, CJM. And I'd be curious to see what that Interstate Heartland deal, if that's going to change that. If Heartland's smart, they're going to utilize that program and not not do away with it. I'm with you, man. I'm sure that Transland will offer me a pretty decent deal, but that self-dispatch is so important, man. It's so important. James G says, Big Orange takes out $32.89 a week for plate permits. Yeah, that's about right. I think my fixed costs comes out to about $152 a week, on the insurances and plates and permits side. What is Snyder paying owner-operators per mile now? Well, Scott, it's percentage. We get 65%, so it all depends on what you're running. We have $4 a mile freight, we have 80-cent mile freight, so it just depends on where you run and how you run. And I don't really talk my numbers because I know that my numbers may not be impressive to some, and they're not a reflection of the Snyder program. I do know that I make the same amount of money here per mile than I did at Landstar, but I've got more consistency here. But there are guys that average pretty good here, but it's a percentage, and that's the other way to go. If you're only making $1.10 per mile, well, you got to run 3,000 miles what I make in 2,000 miles. Less wear and tear on my truck, less fuel. Simple math. 65% says Big Billy. You posting this video after it's done? Yes, I am. 65% of net or gross? Gross. The way Snyder does it, it's different from Landstar. If you look on the Landstar load board and it says the load pays $3,000, that's gross. You still have to take out Landstar's cut. When our load says it pays $3,000, that is the truck's cut minus fuel and fixed costs. Yeah, it's better than Big Orange. Thanks, Steve. I'm out. Much love, bro. Yep. Thanks, John. Good night, everyone. Pale Rider finally shows up after I've been on this an hour. What's up, my friend? I appreciate everybody coming in. Like I said, I just wanted to quench the rumor that I'm not moving anywhere. I'm not leaving anywhere. I have backup plans. Don't get me wrong. There's 3 companies that I can go to if Snyder decides to do something stupid. You didn't get a notification. Well, I can't help you with that, Pale Rider. Steering wheel holder. I'm out. Good talk. Have a good night. Thank you. I didn't think this video would go on this long. Guys, I'm tired, man. I went to Silver Dollar City today in Branson, Missouri. I am burned out. My wife and daughter and my niece and her friend are still at the park. I think I just got a text saying that they just left the park. So I figured I've got a quiet house because me and my son came home early. And I thought it'd be a good time to quench the rumors. And I'm going to try to do a pattern of Saturday night question and answer. Me either. Siraj, forgive me if I say your name wrong. What are those three companies? I'm not sure what you're asking. Always got to have a backup plan in this industry. Yes, you can't put your eggs in one basket. If you work for a company or owner-operator, and they're like, say, the biggest company in a certain, shipper, and they've got all their eggs in one basket, beware, because that could throw a plan off if they decide to change it. Jim Murdoch, how's it going, sir? Schneider double dipping on the low, don't bother you? Big Joe, all companies do it. The brokers do it. Landstar, agents were doing it. The customers all do it. So yes, it does bother me, but what can I do about it? They make it legal. And it's something that they all do. I have a friend of mine that drove for a company, reefer, and he was only making $1 a mile pulling chocolate out of Hershey's, okay, in Hershey, Pennsylvania. You can't tell me that Hershey is only paying a company $1 a mile. You can't tell me that. But they all do it. They all do it. Pale Rider says my backup plan is retiring. Big Orange. Butch says Big Orange do much tanker business down south. I don't know. The only thing I've heard is that the tanker divisions do best in Chicagoland. Your backup plan, you said you picked 3 companies. Oh, okay. Big Joe's got it. Loco is one. There's a small carrier here in Missouri that you can choose your own freight. And then a company I won't put out there yet. And then Big Joe might have a hint. And then I could always go back to Landstar if absolutely had to. I left the door. I left there on good terms. The BCO field advisor there in Indy, he said that they would take me back at any time. So I bet, and I know that if I went over to Landstar, I could do a lot better now than I did back then, because I know a lot more. I don't know everything, but I know a little bit more. Good to hear that you're staying. Call on Monday. Good, Jim. Please do. Here's the thing, Jim, and this is for anybody else watching. The Schneider Finance payments are high, okay? But if you go to Steve Berger's channel, S Berger, on YouTube, there's a number in there too, but if you just type in S Berger, it'll come up. He is the only person making income in his family household. He lives in Pennsylvania. He had a Schneider Finance truck, and he did a full year lease, raising that family on a single income, still getting home on a regular basis, and still doing well. Schneider Finance guys can do well. So, Jim, don't let that freak you out. Is it better to have a cheaper truck? Yes. And that's the other thing I want to address. 404 Trucker said in a comment that, there was this theory that guys with their own trucks like me see a different load board than the Schneider Finance guys. And that's not true, because I have many friends with Schneider Finance trucks and we see the same loads. In fact, Schneider likes guys like me because I'm not afraid to take a load for 80 cents a mile if it gets me home. But could I do, am I going to do a full week like that? No. But they know that we're more likely to take that 80-cent mile load than Snyder Finance guy. So TJ says, I've had good revenue, but my first month has been frustrating. 620, 722, 15, 300 revenue, 4750 take home. Yes. Jim, you live in a good area. So you'll do well where you live. TJ, you do bring up a point. Here's the biggest secret about being an owner-operator. You guys ready? You guys ready for this? It's a big announcement. It's not about what you gross. It's about what you net. I could gross $2,000 in a week and bring home $1,800 of it. A Snyder Finance guy could gross $3,000 and he's only going to bring home $1,800 of it. That's the true number. The higher your costs, the less you're going to take home. You're going to have to work a little bit harder. You're going to have to work a little bit smarter. But however, I have seen this. I have seen guys gross 5 to 6 in a week legally at Snyder with a Snyder Finance truck. And that's about a $3,000 take home. So, Big Joe, does Snyder cancel loads for IC and give them to the company? Yes, that does happen. That's happened to me. But, but it happens anywhere else. Let's say you book a load with a shady broker, right? What's to stop him from canceling the load on you because he found a truck to do it for $200 or $300 or $400 less? That always went on at Landstar. Always. There were times when I booked a load and suddenly someone says that they can do it for a less rate. Well, guess what? My load gets canceled. So it happens all the time. That's the bad part about, company and ICs. A lot of times they'll take a load that's normally an IC load. They'll give it a company guy to get them home. But yes, it does happen. That's just nature of the business. It happens at every single company. Jim, I just don't want to have to stay out for weeks. No, Jim, you won't. My friend Bill that came over here with me, he had a Snyder Finance truck. He lives in the same place I do. He was home every single weekend and still made money. So, Jim, you can do it. Steve Berger did it. Steve Berger did it, man. TJ says, I'm SFI. Well, here's the thing. My suggestion is SFI, get the shortest lease possible, and then try to get your own truck. But there are guys that you go to the Facebook pages, and there are plenty of guys that are on their second and third truck, or they've paid off their SFI truck. So it's all in how you run a business. I remember the band was playing a show, and this guy, comes up and he goes, "Hey man, I drive for Prime. I like your videos, but I also like your music too." And I was like, "Cool, And he goes, "Dude, I get home every week and I know how to run a business, And you never hear that hardly from the Prime guys. But it's all on how you do your numbers. It's all how you calculate. If you're running weeks at a time, you're doing something wrong. At Landstar, that was the way you made money, is you had to run weeks at a time. Pale Rider asks, what do you think about a certain YouTuber comparing companies he knows nothing about? Well, Pale Rider, I've already addressed that earlier in this video. And I actually named him by name. My battery power is getting low, guys. That bothers me because if you're going to compare companies, at least know that you work for them. See, that's the thing. Pale Rider, let's say Pale Rider does a video comparing Central Hauling CalArc with Crete, okay? Well, it'd be a bogus video because Pale Rider's never worked for Crete, right? So how can he tell us, Pale Rider, we've already addressed that, Pale Rider, so you'll have to go back and watch the video. But we are an hour and 10 minutes into this, guys, and I appreciate everybody. I'm going to end this video before it gets too far, because I don't want to be one of those guys that does 2-hour-long videos and says nothing. So I appreciate the super chat, and I'll leave the replay up, Pale Rider. But like I said, you got to be careful who you watch. The rumor of me going to Traveloka is false. I'm still at Snyder, still doing well here. Butch, thank you. And Jim Murdoch says, thanks, I've got a strong backing at home, plenty of support. Jim, that is the that's all you can ask for, man. I think that's why little guy had to give it up, because he didn't have support at home. I don't think it was in his blood, man. I've had some rough patches, man. There were times when my wife and I had some rough patches. And a lot of people, this was talked about when I was on Zello, about how when you're training a student, you have to go over the mental aspect that this job takes a toll with. Before I leave, I'm going to address something. So Jay Cannell did a video about depression in trucking. And Orion posted it on his Facebook page. And Thor, who I've never met, he came out and said, you know what, you need to man up. If you're lonely out here, you shouldn't be driving a truck, blah, 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 blah. And Jay Cannell's video wasn't about talking about loneliness. It was talking about dealing with negative situations at home, like his dad dying while you're on the road. So Thor's attitude was pretty much BS, man. I thought that was pretty lame. It's just like this, in the rock world, the singer of Linkin Park killed himself, okay? And you have all these people that are not Linkin Park fans going, oh, what a coward way out. Well, you know what? I've dealt with depression. And you can't just man up, and have I had to change a lot of things? Yeah, I know what the trigger signs are, and maybe I need to do a separate video about this myself. But that whole man up, blah, 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 coward's way, blah, 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 that's crap. And I lost a lot of respect for Thor because of that. So, whether you like Cannell or not, I've met Cannell. He's a nice guy. I was in Harrisonville one time, and we hung out for a minute, and but it doesn't matter. Depression in trucking is true. That's why everybody's so negative out here. We don't eat right, we don't sleep right, so depression is going to come in. And so to sit there and say, you need to man up, there. Screw you, man. So any respect I had for Thor, I lost at that very moment. So normally I'm not one to attack YouTubers, but I've kind of mentioned 2 today, so I kind of hope there's no backlash for it. But if there is, so what? Big Billy says it's not easy. It takes time to work through it. Exactly, man. Here's the thing. If you're a new person trying to get in this industry, here's what's going to happen. When you're out on the road, I don't care if it's a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, or 3 weeks at a time, or a month at a time, the roles at the household are going to switch. The wife has to take care of more stuff. And you're going to come home feeling like you're a stranger in your own house. Okay? That's not being a man up or anything like that. That is the fact. And how well your how well your spouse handles that is incredibly important. And how you handle it when you get home is important. I know a person who their significant other comes home and all he does is play World of Warcraft. He doesn't help out around the house when he's home, and he's gone 3 or 4 weeks at a time. Their marriage is kind of on the rocks. So because, when you come home, you got that honey-do list, And you got to pay some attention, man. You know the roles will be switched. The spouse has to become the boss of the house, and you kind of got to give them faith and trust that you're going to get it done, you know? And there's so much more things about depression and trucking than loneliness, you know? So Thor, which I doubt Thor will ever even watch this, because they had a friend request on Facebook, he didn't even answer. But if Thor ever does watch this, you know, yeah, man up. Be tough, but, you know, you've obviously never dealt with true depression. Jake Thomas says, yep. Siraj says, have a good night. Thank you, sir. Big Billy, not too keen on working whether the kids will resent you for being gone. My personal problem. Big Billy, I know what you're talking about. Here's the thing. I've got a friend of mine that he left the road and he said, I did it for my kids, you know. And here's the thing. So if you leave your whole trucking career up to, say, a 10-year-old, hey, do you want me to be home? Yeah, Dad, I want you to be home. You know, well, the problem with that is the 10-year-old thinks he's got the power now. He thinks he can get away with that. And in reality, what I remember from my dad, because my dad was a truck driver, was that he worked his butt off to provide for the family. You got to do what's right for the family, and the kids have to understand that. The wife has to understand that. So the kids at first will resent you a little bit, but if you include them and give them rides in the truck and kind of show them what's going on and like pay full attention to them when you're home, you know, they'll eventually get used to it. It's not easy. Trust me, it's not easy. I've been there. Billy, I've been there. Outlaw Trucker, my wife wears the pants in my family. I'd be lost without my wife because she handles all the finances, not for the truck, but for the house. She handles all the doctor's appointments, you know, everything, you know. Big Billy, sorry, not to mention whether the kids are going to resent you being gone. Right. The part that you kind of have to worry about with me, at least, is that, you know, make sure that you're still a role model, you know. Cell phone is a wonderful thing. When my dad was a truck driver, we had to like keep the phone lines clear on Wednesday night at 5 o'clock so we could talk to him. You know, it was one of those deals where I literally have each of my kids at the tip of my fingers. You know, we could text, we could call, we could send pictures to each other. You know, and my wife and I have made a pact: never hang up on each other on purpose. Never sit there and go, you know, and hang up. Never do that. That's the rule. You have to stick by that rule. You know, communication is key, both with your kids and the spouse. So maybe I need to do a video about that. Pale Rider. One of the perks of being old, kids are grown and have their own families now. That's true. I don't think I could have done this with both my kids being very, very little. I know that my son was 6 or 7 when I started. My daughter was younger. But, you know, yeah, Big Billy says, rub it in, old man. Yep. Look at Pale Rider go. But, you know, Pale Rider's done with tragedy, you know, out here too. So, you know, communication is key, you know. And that's the thing. Always have a credit card or enough money to get you fuel home, you know, because if I'm in, say, you know, Arizona and I find out that my mom's in the hospital, I can relay the load and have enough fuel to get home. I always have enough money to get home. I will drop everything like a hat and get home, you know. You know, so flexibility and prepare for the worst. That's kind of the thing. And then, you know, but there are more mental aspects of trucking than just being lonely, you know. Pale Rider's laughing at you, Billy. So, But anyways, guys, this video's gone too long. I know I said that 20 minutes ago. I appreciate everybody coming in this video. I go back on the road tomorrow. And if you guys saw my last video, avoid 18-wheeler truck wash there in Stratford, Missouri. Big Billy, always, my biggest deadhead yet is over 700 miles. Billy, I've deadheaded that far too. I have no issues. Here's the thing. When you deadhead, you're getting 9 to 10 miles a gallon, 300 miles is going to cost you about, what, $100 maybe? I know that when my last load I did for Landstar, I was so frustrated. I was in New Braunfels, Texas. I just went home. I was like, screw this. I'm done. It was right before Christmas, and I was home for 3 weeks. It was awesome. That's freedom, people. That's freedom. So that also helps the mental aspect. Having that freedom to pick where you want to go, to do what you want. Within reason. Yes, you got to kind of make money for the truck. You can't just, rely on one load or whatever. But that, Billy, go back to our original question or original statement. I picked a company when I went company that got me home every other weekend. I've never been out more than a month at a time. And if I did, it was my own choice and my wife was prepared for it. There's never a situation where I was like, I don't know when I'll be home, in the next month. There's never been that. And that is a huge help on the mental aspects. So, all right, my family's getting home. This video's gone on too long. Thank you guys for watching this. My phone's about to die and all that. TJ Jones says, a lot of my frustrations are with withdrawal and other unforeseen withdrawals from Snyder. Yeah. But stay strong, be safe, hit the like button, people, as Pale Rider would say. He knows what he's talking about because he's an old man. Listen to the wise old ones. So, all right. My phone is now saying low battery again. So, you guys take it easy. Thanks for watching. And I'm sorry this went on too long, but we had a good discussion. And if you're offended by this video, I apologize. That wasn't its intent. It's just my opinion, and my opinion does not matter. See ya.